10 American warships are currently staring down the Iranian coast, led by the massive USS Abraham Lincoln. With tensions at a breaking point, everyone is asking the same question. Can Iran actually sink a U.S. aircraft carrier? As of February 1st, the United States has assembled a naval force of approximately 10 major warships in the Middle East to provide President Trump with a range of strike options against Iran. The primary offensive asset is the USS Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, which is currently operating in the North Arabian Sea. This group includes the Nimitz-class carrier itself, carrying the advanced F-35C fighters, as well as F-18 Super Hornets. The Lincoln is escorted by 3 Arleigh-Burke-class guided missile destroyers, the USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., the USS Spruance, and the USS Michael Murphy. These destroyers act as a protective screen while also carrying significant quantities of Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range precision strikes. Adding to this concentration of power, the USS George W. Bush Carrier Strike Group is currently in transit across the Atlantic. As we reported earlier, it departed Norfolk in mid-January, headed for parts unknown. It is expected to provide a second carrier platform in the region within the coming weeks, doubling the available sea-based tactical aircraft. In the Persian Gulf, the U.S. has positioned a specialized surface action group comprising the guided missile destroyers USS Mitcher and the USS McFowle, tasked with monitoring the Straits of Hormuz and providing immediate response capabilities. They are supported by 3 littoral combat ships, the USS Canberra, USS Tulsa, and USS Santa Barbara, which are primarily utilized for shallow water operations and mine countermeasures to ensure shipping lanes remain open. In the Red Sea, the guided missile destroyer USS Delbert D. Black has recently taken up position near the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, providing a southern access for cruise missile launches and ballistic missile defense. Complementing this naval armada is reinforced aerial presence across land bases in the region. The Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan has become a major strike hub, with the arrival of approximately 35 F-15 Strike Eagles, which are capable of carrying heavy ordnance loads over long distances. In Qatar, the Al Udeid Air Base is functioning as the nerve center for the buildup, hosting an expanded fleet of KC-46 and KC-135 aerial refueling tankers, necessary to sustain long-range sorties into Iranian airspace. Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates maintains a rotation of F-22 stealth fighters to ensure air superiority, while Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia has seen an increase in specialized electronic warfare assets and Patriot missile batteries to defend against potential retaliatory strikes. This posture represents a coordinated effort to surround the Iranian theater with redundant layers of stealth, electronic jamming, and cruise missile volume. Now, due to the hyping up of aircraft carriers, I've gotten this question often, so here it is. Can the Iranians sink an American aircraft carrier? Let's start with the bottom line. The answer, with a very high probability, is no. And I will explain why right now. The Iranians have a certain, quite low chance of hitting an aircraft carrier and causing damage to it, but sinking it, it's simply too big. A Nimitz-class aircraft carrier of the type of Lincoln currently in the region is a steel monster about 330 meters long, weighing more than 100,000 tons. It takes several precise hits of fairly large warheads, at least half a ton to a ton, on the deck or side of the ship to begin to approach this possibility. Even a hit to the ship's belly, which is underwater, will most likely not sink an aircraft carrier, since its belly is divided into hundreds of compartments with watertight doors that close automatically upon impact. So that flood-in is limited to only a small part of the ship. In general, as far as is known, the Iranians do not have the means to actually carry out such a hit. They do have small and not particularly advanced submarines, which are theoretically capable of launching a torpedo into the belly of an aircraft carrier. But the chance of such a submarine approaching the Lincoln, or any other American warship, without being detected by sonar is very low. What do the Iranians have that could at least theoretically work partially? For example, they have the Khaliji Farj, an anti-ship ballistic missile based on the Fatah 110 ships, with a relatively large warhead of about 650 kilograms and a range of about 300 kilometers. It is launched into the general area of the ship, provided that the Iranians even know where it is. And I remind you, what we already mentioned, that the American ships sail with their transmitters turned off. And when it enters the atmosphere at enormous speed, this electrical optical homing head starts working and the camera opens. And the missile operator has a few seconds to locate and identify the relevant ship, point it to the missile, and then hope that everything connects properly and it will have enough time to guide it to the target. Now, in tests, the Iranians have claimed to have achieved 100% success with this missile. But in reality, the Houthis launched such missiles with very low hit rates, and that was against commercial ships and not against an American battle group, which is equipped with a variety of interception and defense measures, mainly the Aegis system with advanced SM series interceptor missiles. Also, Iranian claims should be taken with a pinch of salt, because they've claimed to do a lot of stuff that they never did. Either way, the Lincoln can also cruise outside the range of the Fars fleet, more than 300 kilometers from the coast of Iran. Now, this would make its attacks more complex because most, if not all, of its sorties will require aerial refueling for its F-18s and F-35s, but the Americans have more than enough refueling aircraft for this purpose. An Iranian attack with conventional missiles with longer range, whether cruise missiles or ballistic missiles, is doomed to failure, since these missiles are launched at a point marked for them in advance. And even if they break through all the defenses, the aircraft carrier is a moving target. So when the missile reaches their destination, the carrier will simply no longer be there. The Iranians have drones with remote-controlled cameras like the Mohajer 6, but again, even if they penetrate the American defenses, they are equipped with a much smaller warhead or missiles. They can cause some minor damage, maybe create a mental victory, but even in an extreme scenario, they might be able to disable some of the aircraft carrier's capability, but sinking it, not going to happen. The Iranians also have two drone carriers that are the pride of their fleet. Basically, they're essentially converted container ships. But even these, which can send remotely controlled explosive boats, haven't been a resounding success when tested by the Houthis on easier targets. Although, it's worth noting that the Ukrainians use small unmanned boats that explode on Russian naval ships, and they have had considerable success. But then again, the Russian ships and the American ships are quite a few levels apart. The only scenario that really worries the Americans that could cause significant damage and flooding of the ship and the defense systems is swarming of dozens of UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, at the same time in hopes that one or more will manage to penetrate and damage them. But even so, no American ships will be sunk. In short, the Iranians can perhaps cause some damage to the warships of the American Navy, and should not be underestimated, but sinking an aircraft carrier? No, it's just not in the cards. The U.S. Navy has built a fortress that floats, and Iran is looking for a crack in the armor. Whether it's a drone swarm or a ballistic missile, the odds remain slim. But stay tuned, as I would like to also do a comparison between the Japanese capabilities in World War II that were able to sink American aircraft carriers and the Iranian situation today. We'll save that for next time. Briefly, 3 points regarding the Rafah border crossing, which is opening today. The opening of the crossing is part of the first phase of the Trump plan, which Israel agreed to. That was the deal that returned all the hostages. Israel delayed the opening of the crossing until everyone was returned, the living and the fallen alike, as was required of Hamas. 2. Only people will pass through the crossing, no goods, and everyone will undergo Israeli security screening at a point established for this purpose, including both physical inspection and identity verification. And 3, most important, the opening of the crossing is an additional step towards the exit of Gazans from the Strip, in accordance with the Trump plan. The expectation is that more Gazans will leave the Strip through it than will return to it. So, as always, pray for the volatile situation here in the Middle East, in Israel, in Gaza, in Syria, in Iran. Pray for our leaders and pray for us at Netivyah. Shalom from Jerusalem.